PDF Butter is customer, user, admin, and developer focused. Design engaging and deal-winning documents in MS Word. Integrate these directly from Lightning UI. Automate with your favorite Salesforce.com tools like Process Builder and Flow. Go beyond and extend with Apex.
We were just a bunch of nerdy kids who ignored the haters. We took their ridicule and we built on it. And when some of us gave up, well, we built on that too. Built resilience, built on a mission to make things a little better every day until the users came. Then the haters were VCs who scoffed at our audacity. This just isn't the way things are done. But we kept building. Users turned into teams, turned into companies, running their entire businesses on our apps. Then the software giants came after us. We weren't proven, we weren't fully featured, our radical cloud model wasn't secure. But we built on. And today, as companies adopt the cloud to move faster, teams are finding themselves slowed down by each other's efforts. The skeptics are claiming we'll never develop innovation at scale. But now, DevOps have come to the cloud, ushering in a new era of transformation. Companies can release on demand across hundreds of environments, innovating faster with fewer conflicts and fewer disruptions. There will always be challenges. There will always be naysayers. And we'll build on.
Thank you so much for joining this session. The topic for this session is Connect the Industry to Cloud using IoT and Salesforce. Let me introduce myself. I'm Charandeep Singh, currently working as a demo engineer with Salesforce. We work with our customers in building the demos for them and building the art of possible demos to show the possibilities. And I'm available on Twitter and LinkedIn. You guys can connect with me there. Okay, so let's see what's the agenda for today's session. First, we'll start with introduction to an IoT. What's IoT? And then we'll see how you can build an IoT solution yourself. We'll then introduce you to the platform events, and we'll then move to a topic where you'll see how you can connect your IoT solution with Salesforce. And then we'll understand about filtering an IoT data. With that, we'll move to a demo, and then we'll see how IoT and Einstein are a great combination. In the end, I'm going to share some resources with you, which you can refer to learn more about IoT platform events and Salesforce platform and Einstein Office. So these are things I'm going to share at the end. With that, let's move to our first topic, introduction to IoT. So if you see the Wikipedia definition, it says any mechanical or any digital machine that has a unique ID and has an ability to transfer data over network without any human to human or human to computer interactions. So that's something it's called as IoT. So any device that can send data over network, and that's something we can say an IoT device. So if you see the picture that's there on the screen, over the last 300 years, the world has seen incredible innovation and technology changes from steam to electricity, then computing. Now, today we are entering the fourth industrial revolution, or we have already entered into that, where artificial intelligence, the robotics, the AI, and IoT, all these things are transforming the customer experiences. And so here are some of the examples. Like you guys must have used smart devices, or you guys have seen the home automation, wherein with a voice command you can control your home electric appliances, or with a click of a button from a mobile app or somewhere else, you can turn on a appliance at your home, right? Or even like with a mobile device, you can open a home like open home locks and everything. So those all things are like a home automations that we have seen commonly these days. And if we talk about industrial industrial IoT, so let's example of a shipping company like FedEx, which basically ships products from one location to another location, and they are carrying some food items that will stay for some time, and after that they need to ship it into that particular time only. So in those scenarios they use a lot of sensors in their trucks, so that whenever temperature drops to a certain amount or a temperature increases to a certain amount, they can track all those things and they can take necessary actions, right? So all those information are being, so all those things are being tracked and can be taken care using the IoT devices. And one of the most commonly used example we say is the connected vehicles. So vehicles are the self-driving cars we are seeing these days. So coming to our industry. So these are the common examples where IoT is being used. So with that, let's see how you can build an IoT solutions. So currently for development purpose, there are two most common um, the microcontroller boards available in the market, the Raspberry Pi and the Arduino Uno. So Raspberry Pi is like a tiny desktop computer which is running on Raspbian OS, and there are a lot of other OS which are available. Based on your use case, you can deploy the other OS. And so if you see this, there are a lot of pins available on this Raspberry Pi. These are the pins that will help you to connect to an external sensor or anything where you want to receive data from, or where you want to send data to. So all these things are interface you can do, input and output. That thing you can do from here. And this Raspberry Pi, if you install the Raspbian OS, it will, you can run a Python code on top of it. And then there's a library called Simple Salesforce, which you can use, which will help you to interact with Salesforce for retrieving and pushing data or making some changes to it. So those things you can do with Raspberry Pi. We talk about Arduino Uno. It's again an open source microcontroller board, and the difference is that it's this one supports a language C or C++ with some special rules of coding structure. So again, here you also have some of the pins which you can use for connecting external sensors or devices. So these are devices that you can use to send data over network to your Salesforce, or to whatever server you have created, or where they want to send your data to. These things you can do from here. Okay, so if you see here, that's a Raspberry Pi, and I've connected a sensor to this one using this input and output. And that's how this sensor reads some information. It could be like a temperature reading, it could be like a moisture in the atmosphere. So it reads all those information and gives you all the data to this microcontroller. And in your Python code you can read those data, and then you can send this data to your Salesforce, or any other way you want to manage this data. So here are a couple of sensors which are available commonly in the market, and there are lot many which you can use and buy based on your use case, like the ultrasonic sensor, the gas sensors. So a lot of sensors are available there. Okay, with that, let's first see what's platform events. So platform event is basically an implementation of PubSub model built by Salesforce. And to understand PubSub model, if you see on the right hand screen, we have an event bus. So event bus basically takes care of receiving and sending a message from one source to another destination. So if you see event producer, there are three event producers and two consumers. So these can be an IoT devices, or it could be a microcontroller which is sending some information. And the consumer can be your Salesforce, or it could be a server you have implemented on Google Cloud or Heroku, which will listen to your data and perform some actions on top of it. So the good thing is it's a PubSub model. So as soon as the data comes, your client listens to that. So that's what the PubSub model works on. And so if we talk about platform event, this implementation of this PubSub model, we see here that's how you can create a platform event in your Salesforce. So it's more of a configurations. You just like how you create an object in your Salesforce. Similar way, you can create a platform events. That's an API name, and there are some standard fields. So, and you can even have custom fields to capture your data. So the producer can send data in different forms. So you need to capture them into those fields. So that's something you can define it here. So that's actually a platform event. We're going to understand how you can use it once we go in the other slides. All right. So now let's see how you can connect an IoT solution to your Salesforce. So let's assume we have built a solution which will read the temperature of a location and sends to this controller, microcontroller. And again, we have written a Python code which will listen to that data and send it to your Salesforce org. So how we will send it? We're going to use platform events here. That's something we're preferring right now. And platform events, this is something the API, the endpoint for this platform event services data v40.0, that's the API version, and the S objects and the API name for your platform events. If you hit this URL after you log into your Salesforce instance using the simple Salesforce, you can call this endpoints and you can send all the data about temperature and everything to your Salesforce org. So that's the way how you send data to your Salesforce org. And what happens at Salesforce? So you got a request from this URL, and you need to store the data to your Salesforce, or you need to create a case. Let's example, the temperature of that area is increased by certain value. Now you want that to create a case and assign to a agent that will basically go to the field and fix the issue. Right? Or you want that data to be just stored in your Salesforce for your tracking purpose or your future references. So those things you can all take care of in your Salesforce, or you can write a trigger. You can write a Apex trigger which will get fired as soon as a platform event is coming to your Salesforce org. And you can even handle this in your Lightning component. So as soon as a platform event is fired to your Salesforce org, you can handle that in your Lightning components and perform some actions. And again, you can do it with your process builder, similar to how you do in triggers. Right. So now that the data is coming to your Salesforce org, and there are chances when there is a lot of data which will get fired to your Salesforce org, and maybe in a day you will receive thousands and millions of API requests from those devices. Because right now we are taking example of one sensor. There could be in an industry there are thousands of sensors being used, and which every sensor is sending their own data. So for that, do we have governance limits on platform events? Yes, we have governance limits on platform events. What if we reach the governance limits? Then it's going to cost us a lot. We have to buy more license and all those things, right? So what's the best way? So what if we can filter the IoT data? So if you see previously when I showcased, the devices are directly sending data to Salesforce. But right now, what we have done is we have added Heroku platform as a middleware to this, which will filter the data and then it sends to Salesforce. So what do we mean by filtering? So let's example, the device is sending a lot of data. Out of those data, some data is not valid for us, or some data we don't really need to store in Salesforce, and we just need it for making some actions. We can do that on a Heroku platform, and then whatever data we need to store it to our Salesforce, or that data needs to go to Salesforce, that only we can send it to Salesforce. Rest everything we can handle it in a Heroku platform. Or if there's anything like you want to send it to some other server or your another DB, you can just directly send it from here instead of going through Salesforce. So that's the way how you can filter your data in your Salesforce platform. So now we have seen that how data is coming to your Salesforce org and how you're managing it. Let's see a quick demo of how it works. So right now we don't have a real devices. I'm showing a simulation for this real use case. So let's example this industry, and there are a lot of devices being used that is being manufactured by a company, let's example X. And this is a B2B scenario. The company X is manufacturing those devices and giving to this company Y. And what happens is that these devices are need to be placed in a controlled temperature. You can't reach, you can't extend. So there's a temperature range where you have to keep these devices in. So let's example the temperature is 34 to 50 degrees Celsius. Right. So now what happens that due to some issue with the devices or something else, the temperature shoots up. And what happens that this can damage the device, or also if it damages, a lot of losses to the industry and they need to get it replaced. So what if there are sensors in these devices which will listen to the temperature change, and as soon as temperature change happens, these devices will automatically send data to that X company and for them to create a case. At the same time send the field agent who will go to this industry Y and get that fixed. It could be a small issue with some other device, or it could be a atmosphere temperature is getting changed. So maybe they can inform the company Y to take the necessary actions. So that's a use case. And if you see here, let's example, there's a device, any of the device we can take, it's the ID of 1246. The current temperature is 34. And if I say the temperature increased to 78 due to some issue with the device, so as soon as that happens, in the Salesforce org, a case gets generated. If you see there's a case which gets created, we say temperature increase the threshold value for this particular sensor. Please take the necessary action. And the current temperature is 78 degrees Celsius. As you see here, it also connects the asset record that's basically tell us which device is basically having this issue and who's the contact person, what's the account name. For this scenario, we have the YS account who's facing this issue. The device ID is illustrated here. So we got everything captured and we can automatically create a service appointment and assign to a next agent who will go and fix this issue. So all the things can be automated and we can save some time of sending an agent to the field first to identify the issue. Then next time he's coming again and then fixing the issue. So we can save those time by automatically creating a case with the exact issue with that device. Right. Right. So now we have understood that IoT is helping us to get a lot of data for us. And like how IoT and Einstein are a great combination. So IoT is basically a platform which gives a lot of data to Salesforce org. And if we talk about AI, the Einstein, so it's basically an artificial intelligence engine which help us to get insights from those data. So let's example, there is a device that's placed in your industry which captures a picture of the location when a temperature drops by a certain amount, right? And these pictures are getting stored in your Salesforce org. Now the thing is, there will be a lot of pictures which is getting stored on daily basis. But are we actually able to like it's difficult for a human to actually go back and see all those pictures and take necessary actions. Instead of doing that, what if they can actually automate these things and there'll be an AI engine. So you have Einstein image classification, which will help you to classify the images and saying that, okay, I feel this image is particularly of this type and this image is of this type. So you can classify those images automatically using an AI engine, and then you can take necessary actions. Or let's example of a scenario wherein a lot of IoT sensor data is getting captured in your Salesforce. And what if you can predict the future of those sensors? For example, you see that every day from 3 to 6, when the sensor temperature shoots up, and this is being seen from last 1 month on daily basis. So this AI engine will can tell us that this is going to happen now, or it can in advance help us to see what's going to happen to those sensors so that we can plan that in advance. So these type of things that you can use Einstein for, and you can predict the outcomes, and you can classify things. Or even if you take example of this scenario, right now it's a case which is getting created. Right now, this case is not assigned to any queue, or it's not being assigned to a particular person. What if you can automatically assign this case to a particular agent, and it automatically creates a service appointment based on the subject or a description of this case. So you have a case classification, you have other APIs with Einstein, which you can use to classify this case to a particular type. And based on that, you can do some actions on top of it. So that's the advantage of using Einstein with an IoT. All right, so next we have is the resources which are available on Trailmix. So if you guys are interested to know more about this Einstein and the Salesforce platform, the platform events, and how you can build such applications, you can refer to this Trailmix. It has all the resources available.
Thank you, Tarandeep. There's a question from Jagdeep saying, can we integrate AWS IoT with Salesforce?
Questions?
Yeah. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah. So there's a question from Jagdeep saying, can we integrate AWS IoT with Salesforce?
AWS IoT.
Yep.
Right. So I think that's a good question. I have not explored the AWS IoT side, but I am assuming, but yes, you can do it. The ultimate goal is you have to send data to your Salesforce for Salesforce to store the data or do analysis on top of it. So if you want to use AWS IoT, which will get data from your IoT devices and then send it to your Salesforce, yes, you can do it. You can definitely go with that AWS IoT. So Salesforce gives you a platform where you can send data to, and then you can do analysis on top of it. So to send data to IoT Salesforce, you need platform events API. That's the only thing you need. So if you want to call it from AWS IoT, yeah, you can do it.
Cool.
I hope it answers the question.
There's another question. We'll quickly take this one. Is there any examples available on how to set up Raspberry or Arduino with Salesforce?
There are not examples which are available. So, but there are some courses online which you can refer to. So if you have worked on Python, it's very straightforward on calling the Salesforce API using simple Salesforce. You can just Google simple Salesforce. You can get all those ready-made code to use with. For Raspberry Pi specifically or Arduino, there are a lot of courses online on how you can read data from sensor and then perform action on top of it. So these are separate things. IoT is a separate thing and sending data to Salesforce is a separate thing. So you need to see that separately.
Cool. Last question we'll take. Do you have a sample code that monitors the IoT device and pops up to Heroku and ultimately to the org?
So we don't have a sample code ready for this, but I'll try if I can find it. So I'm going to share some of the resources on LinkedIn and Twitter, all those PPTs. If I can find some use cases, I'll definitely share with you all. Just to add one more thing, we are launching one application on App Exchange on Salesforce Labs that's going to help you to learn how you can integrate your Salesforce org with these IoT devices. So the app name is Service Center Playground. So maybe you can watch for this name next month. Hopefully it's going to live on App Exchange. So Service Center Playground. So definitely you can look for that app and you will learn from there.
Cool. Thank you. Tarandeep, just if you can post the Trailmix link on your Twitter handle or a LinkedIn handle, that'll be really good for people to.
I will do that.
Okay. Thank you.
I'll do that.
Okay.
Thank you. Right. Thank you so much, everyone.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for joining the session. We'll see you in the next session. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.